With just 1 week left of the transfer window, the clock is ticking for Edu Gaspar and Mikel Arteta. Whether it's the pursuit of Dusan Vlahovic, a loan transfer for Melo, or maybe even a move for Real Sociedad's Alexander Isak, with top four on the line, Arsenal need to sign some players. So today we welcome Football London's chief Arsenal reporter in Mr. Chris Wheatley and find out what on earth are Arsenal doing behind the scenes. Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Bavs14 and welcome back to your boys channel. Yes, in terms of the weekend, it did not go to plan, it was not good, but in terms of today, a very special episode. So if you guys do enjoy, make sure to go down there and smash a like on the video, and also do subscribe to your boys channel if you are new, and help your boy on his way to 80,000 subscribers. But here is a very special episode of the Transfers FC with Mr. Chris Wheatley. Right, lads, we are here, back with the main man, Mr. Chris Wheatley. He's back on the channel, so a massive pleasure and a massive thanks as well. Big up, man, like Chris. How you doing?
I'm good, Babs. Thanks for having me back. It's been a while since I last been here, but really happy to see your channel growing from strength to strength.
I appreciate the kind words, but we're here to talk Arsenal transfers. 1 week left of the transfer window, and it's getting hectic. A lot of Arsenal fans are very impatient, especially after that result against Burnley. I think the first question I need to ask you is about budget. You know, a lot of Arsenal fans going into this window, January transfer window, we weren't expecting any big transfers because it's more or less the transfer for loans, but I want to ask you, in terms of the owners, are they willing to back Arteta, even 1 week left of the window? And if so, how big?
Yeah, I think it's the question that everyone was asking last summer as well. And they certainly did that. We know that Arsenal were the biggest spenders in Europe. They spent over £150 million on 6 new players. And it's the same this month, that we know if Arsenal have the targets, that the owners will certainly back Mikel Arteta with the required funds. And we know who the main targets are because they're being publicised quite a lot. We know that the main man is Dusan Vlahovic. That has been an ongoing battle over the past few weeks to try and get that one done. It doesn't look like it's going to be happening now, but there's certainly quite a few targets that Mikel Arteta would like to bring in this month. And I think that's something that we know is a struggle, because January has traditionally been a difficult market to get deals done in. Lots of clubs, or selling clubs, they don't want to get rid of their players. And then the buying clubs have to come up with quite a lot of money to get those players and those deals over the line. So it's a difficult month, and Mikel Arteta has said that as well in the past few weeks.
You obviously spoke about Vlahovic there. I mean, we've spoken about him too many times on this channel over the past few weeks. But I want to start off with central midfield instead. I think because after the weekend as well, it just goes to show we really need that brand new central midfielder, whether that be long term or short term. One name that's been really flying about is Melo. I think reports have come out. I think even you reported about Arsenal trying to close the deal on that as well. Is this deal going to happen? Is it close? And if so, yeah, what's happening behind the scenes?
Well, yeah, I think Melo, again, it's another quite public target. Arsenal have had meetings. Mikel Arteta, or should I say Edu, has had meetings with the Juventus technical team. And I think what is quite important here is that Arsenal are really desperate for a central midfielder. I think Granit Xhaka is not really reliable in central midfield. Thomas Partey, of course, has had his fitness issues. I think in general, this is an area which Arsenal have wanted to strengthen for the past few transfer windows. And certainly Melo is the main target in that area. However, the two clubs have been unable to agree on the structure of the deal. Now, we know that Arsenal want a loan, straight loan, until the end of the season. Juventus want an 18-month loan with an option to buy at the end of it, with the player's full salary being covered. So that is quite a heavy deal for Arsenal to accept. They don't know whether Melo is going to be a success or not. So you can understand why they're going with a fairly simple deal. Monday and Tuesday this week are the days that I've been told are key in this deal, whether it's going to happen or not. So we'll certainly find out over the next couple of days whether it's a deal that's going to happen. Otherwise, Arsenal are going to have to move on to another central midfield target. Now, Youri Tielemans at Leicester City is certainly someone they like, certainly someone that they've been looking at for a while now. That move is more likely in the summer, but I could see Arsenal fast-tracking it if they're unable to get Melo over the line this month. But either way, what is really vital is that Arsenal sign a midfielder because they need one if they're going to get top four.
In terms of Tielemans, another one that keeps getting mentioned is Bruno Guimaraes out of Lyon. Out of Tielemans and Guimaraes, what is more likely to happen for Arsenal this window?
I think Bruno's a very expensive deal to happen, and we know that Arsenal will need to stump up at least 40 million euros if they want to get that deal done this month. What is interesting, though, in that deal, and I've reported it previously, that his agent is actually Kia Joorabchian, or Kia Joorabchian's business partner. It's essentially the same thing. And we know that Kia Joorabchian has really good links with Arsenal. He's very close with Mikel Arteta, particularly Edu. And we've seen in the past transfer windows, Cedric Soares, Pablo Mari, David Luiz, they've all come under Kia Joorabchian. I think that's actually a deal which could benefit, that relationship could benefit Arsenal in terms of getting Bruno over the line. I know that there's been talks of many Premier League teams for him. Everton are certainly interested. Newcastle have expressed interest in the past. But I think if he had the choice of going to a Premier League team, I'm sure Arsenal are going to be up there.
One final name of this midfield, it was very heavily linked before the window. Every week it'd be Renato Sanches. But there's been no sort of movement there, no sort of reports at least, in terms from Arsenal. So is he still an Arsenal target? Because in terms of that midfield three, you could say he's probably best suited to that number eight role that Arteta probably wants.
Yeah, I think he's a long-term target, Renato Sanches, and I'm not sure he's someone this month who is going to be coming in. I personally haven't heard anything. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, of course. But no, I haven't heard that Sanchez is close to coming in this month or in any future transfer windows, but he's certainly on the short list. And I think what's important to remember is that Arsenal have a number of players shortlisted for each position. So in case they don't get their number one target, for example, Vlahovic, then they will go for someone else. But as you said already, Babs, January is such a difficult transfer window to get deals done. And you look at the likes of Tottenham, Manchester United, West Ham, they've all had the same issues as well. So I don't think Arsenal are the only club who have struggled to get signings over the line this month. But yeah, it is vital that they start signing players in the next few days.
So let's talk Granit Xhaka, because of course he signed a contract in the summer, but so far this year it's been pretty hit and miss whenever he's fit or available, let's just say. So do you still think he has a long-term future at Arsenal? Because it's kind of clear Arteta wants to transition away from the 4-2-3-1 out of the double pivot. Do you think come this summer, maybe with Mourinho still wanting him at Roma, is he going to be a player for the long term at Arsenal Football Club, or could he be on a move?
We know that contracts don't mean a lot in football. Players sign long-term deals all the time and then they end up leaving in the following transfer windows. So I wouldn't read too much into Xhaka's deal being extended last summer. He was really close to joining Roma, extremely close. The two clubs couldn't agree on the final fee, but Xhaka wanted Roma. Roma wanted Xhaka. It was very close. What I would say is that, yeah, I think that deal could happen. It could be revived in the summer. People close to Xhaka have told me that he's really happy in London, that he has no plans on leaving. But that is usually what people close to the players would usually say. What I do think is that it's certainly a deal that could happen, if not next summer, perhaps in a future transfer window. Like you say, I think Mikel Arteta will eventually move away from that formation. And I think Granit Xhaka is someone who's been around the club such a long time that he is eventually going to want to look for a new challenge. But his new contract is pretty good in terms of the financial package. So it will be quite difficult for another team to come up with something similar. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, I think it's certainly a possibility in the near future.
I think let's move on to the main position, let's just say, for at least from Arsenal fans, is the centre-forward position. And we've already spoken about him in the start of this video. Let's talk Mr. Dusan Vlahovic. First things first, there's been a lot of reports coming out of Italy, I'm not sure how reliable, that Arsenal had struck some sort of agreement with Fiorentina. And that in terms of financially, Arsenal were really willing to make this deal happen. Can you confirm that?
I haven't heard of any agreement being struck, but I do know that Edu has made Vlahovic his main target this transfer window, and he's done everything he can to get this deal over the line. But for obvious reasons, and I think it's been reported by many journalists, it's been quite a complicated deal to get completed. And I think the main reason for that is the players' representatives. His agent, Darko Ristic, a Serbian guy, he's been with him for quite a while. Quite a difficult agent to deal with, I'm told. And he's someone who is demanding huge commissions for his part to play in the deal. And then there's the other part as well, that with Vlahovic not being that keen on a move to Arsenal at this point in his career. I was told that Vlahovic would prefer to stay in Italy. I reported that a few weeks ago. Juventus or Inter Milan he would like to join, ideally Juventus, and that's been reported again today. I think Vlahovic is someone who would be a fantastic signing. I think everyone knows that. He would be a huge signing for Arsenal. But it's such a difficult deal to get done. And I think if it takes this much persuading to get a player in the team, I just don't think it's worth going for that player. I don't think you need to persuade a player to come to Arsenal. I think it should be pretty self-explanatory. Arsenal are a huge club. They can attract world-class players. And unfortunately, I don't think it looks like Vlahovic is going to be coming in this month. But look, maybe in the future, maybe later down the line, you never know. But I think, like I said, it's such a difficult deal to get done. His agents are quite difficult to deal with. And for that reason, I think it's unlikely at this stage that he's going to be an Arsenal player.
I totally agree with you. I think if a player, as you said, needs to be convinced to sign for our club, that player isn't for us. So let's move on to alternatives. I think today we've had David Ornstein talk about Alexander Isak. Is that a player that you think Arsenal could move for in this window or maybe the future if we can't sign Dusan?
Yes, definitely. I think David, of course, is a fantastic, reliable journalist. And again, what I would say is that he's one of several striker targets that Arsenal are going for this month. Lille striker Jonathan David, I've previously reported that Edu had a meeting with his agent at the end of December. Now, that's an interesting one because I know that was a face-to-face meeting in London between Edu and David's agent. In that meeting, it wasn't discussed that he was like a firm target. It was more to kind of sound out whether he'd be available for a January move or a future move. I think David is a really good player. Not many people are talking about him at the moment. Vlahovic and Isak are getting all the headlines. Isak, of course, makes a lot of sense. Martin Ødegaard knows him very well. They're good friends from when they played together at Real Sociedad. So I certainly think that is a possibility. And now there's a 90 million euro release clause, which is, of course, a lot of money. I think Arsenal would try and negotiate that down. Real Sociedad will know that it's unlikely they're going to get someone paying that kind of money for Isak this month. We know that Arsenal have the money. We know that they're prepared to spend big on a striker this month. So yes, I think it's a possibility that Isak could come. They don't need to make rash decisions in this market. I think we know that in the past, Arsenal have signed players as kind of stopgap signings, the likes of Dennis Suarez, Kim Kallstrom, those loan deals. They don't want to make any mistakes. So I think it's important that they get the player they know is suited to the team, to the formation, the system. And yeah, I do think Isak would certainly fit that. But nothing is decided yet. And we're going to have to see what happens over these next few days. It's really crucial, like I said, that Arsenal get their striker over the line.
And one final striker, let's talk Dominic Calvert Lewin, because there's been quite a few reporters out of England specifically saying that Arsenal could look at Calvert Lewin as a target if they can't get Vlahovic again. I've also heard some reports that West Ham might want to sign him for a fee of £60 million. So looking at Everton's current situation, they are in a bit of a disarray. Do you think Calvert Lewin is a player that Arsenal could make a move for, specifically after last window showing how Arsenal signed White and Ramsdale, that we like to sign players now out of the Premier League?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the strategy. In the past couple of transfer windows, we've seen Arsenal target those British players, and there's a reason for that. The resale value of those players is pretty high compared to their foreign counterparts, and the same would be being thought the Dominic Calvert Lewin. Mikel Arteta is a big fan of him. Obviously, there's the Everton connection there as well. I think it would be a deal which is possible to get done. We know that Everton are in disarray right now. They're kind of all over the place in terms of their transfer business. And I think Calvert Lewin is someone who they would consider selling. But again, it's not as easy as just slapping the money down. The player would need to make sure it's the right move for him as well. I don't think he would need too much convincing. But yeah, look, we know that Calvert Lewin is one of several targets. Isak, of course, is the other one, and Jonathan David I've reported about in the past. So yeah, I think Arsenal have been planning over the past few months for this scenario. They knew Vlahovic was a very difficult deal to get done. Talking to people around the club, they always knew that it was going to be tough. And there's always a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. And I think in this case, Arsenal will try and go for their plan B and their plan C. Isak is the one who is being reported right now, and I would certainly say that Arsenal could be confident of getting that deal done. All they need to do is pay the release clause, theoretically, to get that deal completed. They did that
Put
with
the money
Thomas
on the
Partey
table.
a couple of seasons ago. So it's certainly possible. They have that attractiveness as a club, and I think it's certainly possible that they can get at least a midfielder and a striker before the window closes.
Let's talk Arsenal strikers, players that we already have at the club. And I think the particular one here is Mr. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He's come back from Gabon after reported heart issues, so get well soon, Pierre. But in terms of his Arsenal future, I think Mikel's made it clear he doesn't really have a long-term Arsenal future anymore. So we've heard some reports about bids coming out of Saudi Arabia. Is Pierre close to leaving Arsenal? And what offers does he have on the table if so?
Is he close? Not really, because Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang wants to stay in Europe. He's weighing up that offer from Al Nassr, I think it is, in the Middle East. I don't think right now it's a move that suits him and his family, from speaking to people close to him. But at the same time, it's certainly an offer that they're considering. We know that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang likes Dubai. Of course, he likes that kind of area. But at the same time, at 32 years old, I'm not sure it's the right step for him in his career right now. But it could be a case, of course, where he's not going to play at Arsenal. That's pretty much set in stone right now. So he may need to accept that move to get regular game time. Otherwise, it could be a Mesut Ozil situation. I do know that there's other teams who've expressed a kind of tentative interest. So there's no offers, but there's interest from the likes of Marseille and AC Milan. Of course, Milan, his former team. And I think that's certainly an interesting proposal for Aubameyang. But again, those teams are not going to pay £350,000 a week wages. And that's the biggest issue here. Whereas the Saudi team are prepared to pay his wages in full, these other European teams certainly won't be able to pay even half of what he's on.
100%. Let's move on to right back quickly. I'll just brush up on this. I think with Cedric potentially leaving, not maybe this window, but maybe in the future, Chambers' contract expiring at the end of the season, do you think that Arsenal are looking to turn a right back in the next couple of windows? I think the name's been mentioned is Jed Spence, the player that played against Arsenal in the FA Cup.
Yeah, Spence is an interesting one. His deal with Nottingham Forest, of course, is a loan deal. They recently signed a new agreement there. So he wouldn't be able to leave this month anyway, regardless of a bid coming in. My personal view is that he'd be a great signing for a Premier League team. He's still not completely there defensively. He's a player I've watched quite a few times in recent weeks, as well as that Arsenal game. I'm not quite sure he fits the system that Mikel Arteta wants to play. But again, he's a young player. He's rough around the edges, so he could add something to the squad. Cedric Suarez, you mentioned him already. As far as I know, he was offered to Atletico Madrid. It wasn't a case of Atletico saying that they're interested in Cedric. It was him being offered to Atletico, and I don't think he's their number one target either. I think he was probably 2 or 3 on the list. Yeah, Cedric is someone who wants to play regular first team football, so he'll be out the door. Callum Chambers, not quite sure what's happening with him, to be honest. I feel like he probably has a 1-year clause in his contract which Arsenal could trigger. That's just my guess. That's not from any information I have. That's what a lot of players have in their contracts these days. So it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal do extend his contract by 1 year. But either way, I don't think Chambers has a long-term future at the club. And yeah, I think it's certainly a position that Arsenal need to strengthen in. So yeah, I think they will go for someone probably homegrown if they go for anyone at all. And as you said, like Spence is certainly someone who would add a bit more bite to that Arsenal defence.
We have a very good French centre back out on loan. I'm sure you know who he is, William Saliba. What do you reckon the plan is for him coming back to next season? Because he's obviously with Marseille, I believe they have a transfer ban now. So even if they wanted to sign him, I don't think they can. So do you think he comes back straight into this Arsenal first team setup and provides competition, or maybe even starts?
Yeah, I think with the transfer ban, that will probably be suspended upon appeal. It's not certain yet. So I don't think it would stop them signing Saliba on a permanent deal. But like I said before, I think the Saliba situation is really complicated. We know that pretty much every Arsenal fan wants to see Saliba come back at the club and compete for a place in the first team. Mikel Arteta has not been convinced since he first saw Saliba train. He sent him out on loan twice, and I feel like this is really the kind of do or die moment for Saliba in an Arsenal shirt. He really needs to show that he's ready, and I think he has at Marseille. I think he's been one of their best players. He's been really solid in defence. He's been part of a team which has kept, I'm not sure how many, but quite a few clean sheets I saw recently. And I think he's someone who Arsenal need to be keeping in the squad. But as we've seen with Mikel Arteta, a lot of those players from the Unai Emery and Arsene Wenger era have now gone. Perhaps Mikel Arteta will decide to make a big decision this summer. Now, I know that talks over a new contract are likely to happen towards the end of the season. So we'll have to see then what's going to happen. But I don't think a decision has been firmly made yet. And we know that Dinos Mavropanos is going to be joining Stuttgart unless they get relegated. So, yeah, we will have to wait and see. I don't think a decision has been made yet. But we will certainly see over the next few months what will happen.
In terms of the goalkeeping situation, I think Leno is looking to potentially leave in this window. That's been reported at least. And Arsenal reportedly linked to Matt Turner out of the MLS. Is that a goalkeeper that Arsenal are looking to sign in this window, or is it more of a summer move unless Leno goes now?
Yeah, Matt Turner is being the subject of a £5 million bid from Arsenal. He's a player that they'd like to get in this month. And I think they can do that deal. I don't think it's a particularly complicated deal to get done. The player certainly wants to come to Arsenal. And I think, again, Bernd Leno really does want to leave this month to play regular first-team football because, of course, he wants to be in with a chance of playing at the World Cup for his country. And Turner, yeah, that's pretty much all agreed in terms of the players' side. It's just the two clubs that need to agree on the formalities of the deal. So I'd expect Turner to come in. Leno, not particularly sure at this stage where he's going to be going, but Newcastle are certainly interested. So, yeah, I'd expect those two deals to be done relatively soon.
Okay. Let's just move on to contracts finally. You mentioned Mikel Arteta. There was a lot of the debates going on in Arsenal social media about does he deserve a new contract, and if so, should it be at the end of the season after Arsenal maybe get top four or so? What do you reckon is happening behind the scenes with Arteta, and are they going to offer him a contract before the end of the season?
Personally, I haven't heard of him, Mikel Arteta, being offered a contract before the season ends. I've seen some reports which suggest that could happen. My information is that a decision will be made at the end of the season. It's likely that he'll be offered a contract when the season ends because the ownership and the hierarchy at the club are happy with Mikel Arteta's work and what he's done and what he's achieved at the club so far. I think you have to look at Arsenal as a whole, the squad in terms of the player turnover and in terms of where they've improved as a team. I think Arsenal have improved, and I think that's certainly what the board are going to be looking at when offering Arteta a new contract. And his current deal expires next summer. I would expect him to sign a new contract at the end of the season. And I think another one as well is Bukayo Saka.
I was going to ask you about that. Again, you definitely got my script with this one. I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, he's someone I think Arsenal are really keen on signing up as soon as possible. His deal expires in the summer of 2024, but despite that, Arsenal know he's one of the most important players at the club, and they want to offer him a contract which reflects his standing as one of the most important players. So I think he'll be offered a bumper new contract to put him up with the highest earners at the club. I'd expect him to be offered that towards the end of the season. Again, around the same time that Arteta has been offered a contract. So, yeah, I'd expect those two to be offered new deals. And I think that's good news for everyone at the club.
Getting hectic. Arsenal might sign a goalkeeper. Arsenal might sign a striker. Might sign a central midfielder, or might sign no one. So, we don't know what to expect at this point. But I want to say a massive shout out to Chris for coming on the channel once again and giving us his time. If you want to subscribe to Chris's YouTube channel, the links will be down below in the description, and likewise with his Instagram and Twitter. So, yeah, just a massive shout out to Chris Wheatley.
Cheers, Babs. Thanks for having me again.
So there you guys have it, a very interesting interview indeed, a massive shout out to Chris. But also now in terms of Arsenal, what are we going to do? Are they going to move on from Dusan Vlahovic onto an alternative, maybe like Alexander Isak? And also in terms of central midfield, forget about Melo, what about Youri Tielemans? As per my friends, so many points to discuss, so make sure to get down below in the comments and let me know your thoughts. And also if you have enjoyed, make sure to smash a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. If you of course want to follow your boy on them social medias, the links will be down below in the description. But that concludes a very very special episode of the Transfers FC. Shout out to Chris Wheatley. But in terms of Arsenal, Edu Gaspar, you're under surveillance. 7 days left of the transfer window. Please, for the love of God, just sign some players. Anyways, guys, let's see what happens, and I'll see you next time. In a bit.